Is what if Deku was or went to a monster school, part 1. Now, basically, I'm just started recording on my new phone. If you don't know, I did break my phone last week or a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of off of YouTube that time, but I'm back. So, pretty much, I just wanted to come back with this type of what if, because I had this idea on the weeks I had when my phone was broken, and I just had this idea. I had a lot of ideas because I had a lot of time to myself to just, think about, ideas and story plots I wanted to do and stuff like that. Now, I am going to make a video later this month about my stop motion timeline and how everything's going to be set together. So I am thinking about just canceling off the Time War series and redoing it later in the year, or maybe just overall still continuing with it, but the story's kind of weird. So I might just, cancel my Time Wars series and redo it later in the year. So yeah, but whatever. So my stop motions I'm going to be uploading a new stop motion in a couple weeks. Spider-Man vs. Fantastic Four, a sequel to, or the third movie in the little series I'm making of Spider-Man Versus, is going to be, after Spider-Man vs. Fantastic Four, it's going to continue with Spider-Man 2099 stop motion with Miles and Spidey and Miguel O'Hara's, or Spider-Man 2099, and basically all the other stuff. And that's going to be the introduction of the multiverse in my story. So I'm going to be doing like a multiverse type thing in my story, and eventually after that I'm going to redo Time Wars and basically a lot of other events and stuff like that. So basically, yeah, so I have a lot of things set up for my stop motion series and universe, so I'm going to be doing that. And this month, my new upload schedule, since the school year starting up into my first year of high school, I'm going to be uploading at least 2 stop motions a month, or 1, but at least 2 stop motions a month. But you'll at least get a stop motion from me a month, even if it's a short one. So yeah, also action figure skits, they're just going to be random. My YouTube shorts be random, but most likely I'll make 1 or 2 a week. So yeah, also my what ifs, at least 5 or 4 a week, or 5 or 4 every 2 weeks. So yeah, also I am working on a little bit of, I guess, a reaction video, because I did say I was going to be doing, a reaction video to some My Hero episodes. So I'm going to be reacting to some My Hero episodes later this year, or later this month, and I'm just trying to set up how I'm going to be recording it, and basically stuff like that, and just editing tools and stuff like that. So yeah, also it's like a different setup for my recording. I'm not using screen recorder anymore because, I couldn't get it because I just switched the iPhone or to my computer, and this is my first time ever, having an iPhone. So yeah, I'm just trying to get used to it. That's my new phone. So yeah, but other than that, pretty much my recording schedule is going to be somewhat the same. You're still going to get content from me. So it's going to be like 2 stop motions a month, or at least 1, and about 2 or 3 YouTube shorts a week, and about 4 or 5 what ifs each 2 weeks. So yeah, guys, so after this video is out, you guys can go in the comments and put down request videos or whatever you guys wanted me to do before I dipped and my phone got broken. So yeah, so let's just dive right into the video. Let's get started with this fanfic. Now, since I'm not doing screen recorder, I can't really put, images, but I'm going to try to and edit it over the audio, because I normally just edit it on the, picture, but whatever. So let's dive right into this fanfic. What if Deku went to monster school, part 1. Now, we start our story off with Izuku Midoriya and how his universe is set up. We start our story off with Izuku Midoriya, and his life, is exactly the same, but just something different happens. In this world, Asashi is supposedly dead, but that's going to be changed later on in the story, and you will know why. That Deku goes to pretty much his school like normal. Deku was born quirkless, and overall, throughout his whole life, Deku was always bullied. Over the years, Deku figured out that he had some special talents, as he would be able to actually read and have a gift for hieroglyphics and pretty much stuff, well, at museums. Coding them and other things like that. One time, or in the present time, the day before in the school, the class would have been going on a last year field trip to a nearby newly opened museum. As they would have gone there, as Deku would have walked in there, Bakugo still, being the trick he is, he would have bullied Deku, and overall, through the, field trip, Deku would have been, well, bullied or cornered into the trash can, into the, alleyway before everybody was, picked up from the, museum, as Bakugo would have started to, let's just say, for YouTube reasons, he would have beat the snot out of Deku. I mean, he would have beaten him senseless. I mean, he beat Deku like he stole something from him, bro. Like, Deku was laid out. After that, a couple hours later, Deku would have woken up because he would be knocked out cold, his nose being somewhat fractured and his nose constantly bleeding, and it's not stopping. As Deku gets up, as his nose stops after a couple of minutes, as Deku starts to limp back home. In that night, Deku starts to limp and limp and limp. Eventually, him crossing the road, as out of nowhere, a bus hits him. As Deku wakes up in a room, a couple minutes later, as Deku wakes up in a room, Deku looks around and it seems like he's in his apartment. But he opens the door and he sees an old man in a wizard type outfit with a beard. As the old man says, "Asuka Midoriya, I'm glad you're here. It's been a long time, son." As Deku's very much confused on what's going on, as Deku asks, "Who are you and where am I? And what happened?" As Deku vividly remembers getting hit by the bus, but not remembering anything after impact. Deku would have been told by this man that his name is Merlin, and that he was sent here from another world to be a type of chosen one. As Deku would have been very much confused, saying, "What do you mean, chosen one?" Chosen one meaning chosen one as in the one that's supposed to save us all, the one that's supposed to fulfill the prophecy and stop all the evil in this world, or most of it at least, the biggest problem. So Merlin goes on about how he is his son, and basically Merlin is Deku's father and he's his son. So Merlin goes on about how Deku is, well, a wizard, and that he's been sent to this world filled with supernatural beings and mythical creatures to fulfill his destiny as a all-powerful wizard, a chaos user. Basically, Deku's very much confused, but in this world, Deku would be a huge type of, well, I guess, anime or fiction fan, as he would be obsessed with heroes in his world, plus also supernatural creatures and other things like that. Him just being a total nerd, more than in this universe. So Deku would tell Merlin, so I died? I got isekai'd? As Merlin says, "I guess you can say that as Asuka Midoriya, or my son." So Merlin talks to Deku, saying that he went to his world thousands of years ago because he fell in love with a woman named Asuka Midoriya. As this version of her in his universe died, he went to the other universe, the closest other universe he could find that was somewhat supernatural, as remnants of supernatural creatures like werewolves and vampires would be living in secret in his world. As what would happen is Deku would be told by Merlin that he fell in love with your mother again, another version of your mother, aka Deku's mother, as the Inko in his universe, Merlin's universe, wasn't really, she couldn't have kids because she was an elder vampire. Okay, so basically vampires, werewolves, and other creatures, they have different levels to them, but I'm going to get into that when it comes down to it. So I'm going to get into that later in the story. So what happens is, well, Deku's mother in Merlin's universe died after she was, well, let's just say vampire staked, as pretty much Deku was told by Merlin that he fell in love again with another woman, another version of your mother, and she was very kind and liking, and she was even more of a woman than Merlin's original love, as Merlin would have gone on about how he truly fell in love with your mother more than he did with his original Inko in his universe, as he had a kid with, well, Deku's mother. As Deku would be told by, well, Asashi that he is pretty much, not told by Asashi, but Merlin would tell Deku that he took up the mantle in the name of Sashi and shapeshifted himself to look younger and feel younger and basically physically be younger, as he would have just, well, matched himself some green hair and just look like an older, more buffer version of Deku. Basically looking like, well, Asashi, or disguised Deku from the overhaul, not the overhaul, but the One For All arc. The One For All arc where Deku disguised himself with the beard and the long hair. Basically, Merlin just made himself look like that, but a little bit more taller and slightly buffer. So yeah, so Deku was told by Merlin that he was sent to this world and that he needs to get ready for school. As Deku is very much confused, saying, "Wait, hold on, school? You're telling me I died, and you went to another universe to be with a woman you already knew from your universe, and you slept with her, having a kid with me, and then you died and left her alone to raise me, and then you want me to go to school in another universe I don't even know, and you just told me I died. So I don't really think I should go with you." As Merlin says, "I understand, but we don't have time." As Merlin snaps his fingers and teleports them in the front of the school, as the school looks very similar to a fusion of My Hero and Hogwarts. So it's pretty much a mixture of like an anime version of Hogwarts, with Yue a little bit of a modern turn on Hogwarts, kind of like Yue. So what happens is Deku was told by Merlin that he needs to go to the school to get his license to become a hero. As in this world, you have to go to a special type of school to become a mythical hero. Like other werewolves and wizards and other mythical creatures attend this school. Majority of them are wizards, werewolves, and vampires, but others like goblins, elves, and other creatures like that are accepted to the school. All supernatural creatures, and even humans, normal humans, are accepted here. But Deku was told by Merlin that you have magic in your body, and today I want you to, well, unlock that magic deep down inside your veins, in your body. You are the son of the most powerful wizard in this world, in the universe, and you have the potential to even rewrite history with the amount of magic power you have. Normally in this world, Deku, or son, it is some things that warlocks or normal wizards cannot do by themselves, but you can. You can rewrite history himself, stop a tsunami from coming a mile away, or even so much as rewrite the cells of somebody's body, curing cancer itself. And Merlin also comes to the fact that cancer doesn't exist in this world since, well, magic is a thing. So, well, what happens is Merlin disappears, as he tells Deku before he disappears to have a fun time. Merlin tells Deku to go, as Deku walks down the halls of the school, as he eventually gets into the main room, as the main room looks like, well, the exact room where Harry Potter in the original first Harry Potter movie went there, as they would all be told about, the headmaster, as the headmaster would be Merlin. So Deku would be very much confused, saying, well, of course, since Merlin is the strongest wizard in this world, of course he would be the headmaster of the school, and the most prestigious school for young supernaturals trying to become heroes. As I mean, in heroes, I mean like people like Hercules or Perseus, people that fight against, evil supernaturals, kind of like supernatural cops. That's why they're there, to become supernatural cops, to stop supernaturals that are trying to take over the world or do harm, stuff like that, like stopping dragons or taking down griffins, or even, stopping mass genocide by supernaturals like vampires or werewolves. So what happens is pretty much majority of all the people in UA are there, just different versions of them with supernatural elements in their body. Like in this world, Bakugo is a werewolf, And in this world, well, Bakugo is a werewolf. Uh, Todoroki is a vampire, and Ida is a werewolf as well. Ida's a werewolf as well. So yeah, so basically, what happens is that Deku is sitting in the main hall as they're all told that they're going to be sectioned up in classes. Class 1A, 1B, 1B, and 1C. As they all get up, as majority of them are selected by a type of ball, or orb, as they grab the ball and they're sectioned into a color, pretty much saying they're in class 1A or class 1B. Now, all people in original class 1B or class 1A, they're all put in the same type of classes. So everybody's put in the same class as in, canon. So basically, what happens after that, they go to their classrooms or their periods. As Deku goes to first period, as he bumps into Bakugo. Bakugo has some age problem, pretty much anger problems in this world, the same as Bakugo in canon, as Deku recognizes him. But in this universe, this version of Bakugo has very bright red eyes, and also his hair is a lot more darker. As Bakugo tells Deku to back off, or tells the kid to back off, as he doesn't know Deku's name yet, as he tells him to stay out of my way or else you're gonna get hurt. As Bakugo walks off, basically taunting Deku with his eyes glowing yellow as his hands flare up with flame or explosions. As in this world, you can be hybrids of, witches, werewolves, or vampires. So in this world, Bakugo is a werewolf, but his father is a warlock, especially in fire or explosion magic. And in this world, Musky Bakugo is a werewolf. So what happens is you pit magic with werewolves, and you get like a warlock hybrid of a werewolf. So he's a werewolf, but he only has limited forms of magic since he's not a full warlock. So he can only make small or like TMT levels of explosions, but nothing like a nuclear bomb or anything. Other than that, he can make big explosions, but they can hurt him a lot because, werewolves are very, very weak to fire and other, elements like that. So what happens is Bakugo walks off as Deku notices that he has some sort of magic aura. As he first sees the first level of his magic, as he can sense people and what they are, as some sort of like Death Note type writing appears on top of pretty much Bakugo's head saying hybrid witch or werewolf. As pretty much, Bakugo walks off as Deku shakes his head and rubs his eyes as it goes away. As Deku walks into the class, as their uniforms in this universe, I forgot to mention, they're exactly like the UA uniforms, just with all the gray in the uniform being black. So what happens is they sit down, and all the class are told to get ready and take out their books. As Deku says books, as Merlin appears supernaturally, or astral projection only appearing in front of Deku, him magically or snapping a book in front of Deku's hands. As Merlin says to keep prepared and look at the board outside to see what you need for your next period. As Merlin disappears, pretty much Deku being very confused. As Deku doesn't speak out loud because, he notices that if anybody could have seen Merlin, they would have freaked out because Merlin was like literally in front or in a student, basically, like, how you glitch into somebody in like Roblox or something. That's basically how Merlin was doing to a student in front of Deku. So Deku opened his books, and it's like a writing he can't understand at first, but eventually, for some reason, he starts to understand it as the words start to jumble together and morph and change into Japanese. As Deku reads it, as Deku, basically understands that this school is just learning about magic, math, statistics, and overall how to vanquish your enemy and how to live in this new modern supernatural universe. So in this world, supernaturals are basically set in the same type of world as, basically, I guess, they're set in the same type of world as modern, but it's kind of like, I can't remember, but it's kind of like, I don't remember the Pixar movie with the elves and them using their magic to try to find their dad. I can't remember the movie, but I might put up a picture. Probably not. Most likely not. My editing stuff is kind of lazy. But basically what happens doing this, Deku looks at the book, basically just starting to read it, as Deku eventually leaves the class, as he moves on to his second period, magic class. As he goes in there, as magic class is taught by this universe's version of Aizawa, as Aizawa in this world is an elf. As Aizawa's elf magic is more of a compulsion type. He can basically use magic to conflict or pretty much nullify people to not use their powers, basically nullifying the part of their brain that allow them to use their supernatural gifts or abilities. Like a vampire can be looked by Aizawa can look down a vampire, and the vampire just thinks he's human and basically is pretty much put into fear, or he can't use his powers without overriding his brain and going brain dead. So basically, put it simple, Aizawa forces you not to use your powers. So that's how he uses his magic. And he also is able to use his magic in different ways, like explosion or fire or blast spells or anything of the sorts, like normal magic, run-of-the-mill magic. As the students are all called into the gym, as magic class is somewhat like gym, as they go out in the front or out in the front main chill area, or I guess pretty much I don't really know how to say it. Like, the scene where where Potter or Harry just started knowing how to fly a broomstick? That's basically where they are. Like in the courtyard. Yeah, the courtyard. So basically, they're told to use their magic the best they can. As the teacher gets into a, little arena area in the courtyard, as he calls up each of the students, or Aizawa calls up each of the students to get into a fighting stance with him to fight. As Aizawa tells Deku first up to fight him. As Deku gets into a fighting stance, as Deku tries to dig deep inside for some magic abilities. As Aizawa gets ready and pulls out a wand, as some wizards use wands to pretty much channel their energy, but other more experienced wizards can just use their hands or just think of a spell and it happens. So Aizawa just uses a wand because he wants to dampen his magic so he doesn't kill any of the students. As Deku gets into a fighting stance, as Aizawa gets ready. As Deku runs towards Aizawa and pretty much tries to hold out his hands to do something, as he runs with Aizawa, stops like 6 feet away from him and pretty much just gestures his hands towards him like Shazam or go, or basically kind of like how Tobey Maguire tried to learn how to use his webbing. Basically just trying different hand gestures and other things like that. As Aizawa says, are you joking with me? Actually try. As Aizawa hits Deku with a lightning bolt spell, sending him on the other side of the arena in the courtyard. As everybody in the courtyard between periods are starting to watch through the windows, including the other teachers. As Deku gets up, as Deku basically channels some energy in his hands as he's surprised on what's going on. As Deku sees magic starting to channel through his fingers, as he sees electricity going through his hands. As Deku pretty much points out his hands towards Aizawa, as Aizawa tries to use magic to counteract that power with that spell, but it's not working at all, not even dampening the magic at all. As Aizawa sees that his magic isn't affecting Deku at all, it's like impossible, and the lightning spell barely even phased Deku's clothing, like it was barely even scruffled. It just pushed Deku back like a light, very hard breeze. As Deku holds out his hand, as a huge bolt of electricity, like a Thor level attack, gust out of his hands, or blast out of his hands, shooting Aizawa across the courtyard into a nearby classroom through the window, knocking him out cold. As the class is super impressed on Deku's skills, including a black-haired witch girl, basically named Momoya Arozu, and a couple other, students in the class. As the classroom is sent, pretty much into another substitute teacher, As pretty much that after that period, basically switched off to different periods, blah blah blah, just math and stuff like that. And eventually they get hit with gym. As gym class is somewhat the same, you could say. Now Zawa is their main teacher for a majority of their whole periods, like for about like 5 or 4 of their periods. So Zawa was their gym teacher, and he used some healing magic, or the nurse used some healing magic to heal himself up like nothing happened. As Zawa looks at Deku, being very much impressed at his powers, but also kind of angry at him, kind of stingy. But Azawa tells the students to get ready and just do some warm-ups. As some of the students do push-ups, jump-ups, or some students just squat or do sit-ups. As Deku just, does some push-ups. As Deku's body is somewhat the same like in canon before he did the training. So he's still kind of scrawny, but Deku's about like 2 inches taller than canon. So Deku gets ready and they all get, into a line, as they are told to, tie the knot around the dog's head. As pretty much it's a loose rope that you need to tie a knot in for you to pass, the first test for the beginning of the year, because this is the first day of school for all the students in this supernatural school. As Deku's very much confused as he looks, as it is a hellhound that they have to tie a knot around. Like a huge flaming skull type dog with a rope attached to the back of his neck. Dangling rope. You have to get on top or get near the hellhound and tie a knot into the rope. Like, how are you supposed to tie a knot into a rope as you're also trying to take down or even trying to avoid a hellhound? As they say, as pretty much the students are told they can use any type of spell or power they want, as he sends up about 3 students each to try to take down the hellhound and succeed. As he sends 3 students, this universe is Kirishima, this universe is Zero, and Mineta. So pretty much in this universe, Zero, Mineta, they're warlocks, and they basically use their magic like they use their quirks in canon. Also, Kirishima, he's a werewolf as well. So Kirishima, he's a red werewolf. Red werewolves are more, brutal when they transform. They more gruesome, and they overall feel way more bloodlust, and they're a lot more stronger in their human forms. They're a lot more stronger than their human forms than any other werewolves that aren't turned yet. So they basically have the half of the strength of their werewolf form, but only normal werewolves that aren't transformed have about 2 or 3% of their strength in their human form. So Kirishima gets into a fighting stance as he's able to harden his skin, as he's learning technique about how he can semi-transform his skin into the underlayer of skin werewolves have before they grow hair and they start to break your bones as you transform. As Kirishima's skin turns a lot more of a darker shade, as his skin turns more of a red type shade. So Kirishima gets into a fighting stance as he also starts to have claws pretty much attach or come out of his nails, as they're black claws, as he gets into a fighting stance. As the other students start to conjure up their magic, as Zero's magic, he basically just manifests sticky like pretty much a rope or sticky type of tape. As they get into a fighting stance, as the hellhound starts to pace around them. So Kirishima runs towards the hellhound first, as he jumps towards the hellhound, as the hellhound dodges and grabs Kirishima and throws him down to the ground. As Kirishima is able to survive the attack because of his werewolf-like durability and healing, and also plus he is able to harden his skin, and it's only 1% of werewolves that can actually do that. So Kirishima gets up as he pretty much triggers his claws, as his claws come out of his nails as he starts to slash towards the hellhound. As the hellhound starts to take the attacks, barely taking any damage, as the hellhound kicks Kirishima out of the circle, because they're in a huge type of circle type ring in the gym. So Kirishima is disqualified, as Mineta and Zero don't have a chance. Zero does and is able to get near the hellhound and immobilize him, as Mineta tries to get towards the hellhound and tie the knot, but before he can grab the rope, the Hellhound breaks out of the, pretty much sticky type of rope as he literally squashes on Mineta and tries to break his ribs. Asazawa calls and makes a type of whistle noise as the Hellhound pretty much goes down or kneels as he steps off of Mineta. Mineta is sent to the nurse, and pretty much Zero is disqualified since he was kicked out of the ring as he was putting all of his weight on the ropes, and when the rope snapped, he fell out of the ring. So basically after that, more students go up, and more students and more students. The only match that got close enough was Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku's, and that's the match we're on now. So Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo are probably some of the strongest people on this team. Now they get up and they are able to get towards the, Hellhound. As they get into a fighting stance, as Deku tries to shoot out the same magic skill, but nothing happens. As Deku looks around as he sees that Bakugo runs towards the Hellhound, as Bakugo transforms into a full-blown werewolf in the daytime, as everybody is shocked. But Aizawa really isn't. As in this world, Aizawa is going to go more into the type of werewolves. Now, it is a certain type of werewolves. If you're in a werewolf-like family, like a long lineage, and if your mother or your father or your family were a pack of werewolves, alphas. So the only way you can become an alpha, a werewolf that can transform at will, any time of the day or any time of the night, even choose not to transform on a full moon, you have to kill another alpha. And to become an alpha, before you kill another alpha, basically you have to kill a certain amount of supernaturals except for humans. So basically, let's say the first alpha ever was able to kill a whole village of vampires by himself, granting him the title of the first alpha. And about 60 other werewolves tried the same thing, almost, putting vampires in extinction, until werewolves started to figure out another way to become alphas, kill other alphas. So what happens is, they started killing other alphas. And it also is another way to become alpha. If you are born a Omega werewolf and you make a pact from your, let's just say sack, or you have family and those kids turn out to be werewolves, they are your Omegas, and then you turn into an alpha and you get stronger. So yeah, your kids have to kill you to become an alpha, or kill another alpha. So basically, you can be born alpha if your mother used to be alpha, but married a human or a non-werewolf, taking away their, power as alpha, and giving it to their children they have with that creature, or with that, person. So what happens is, Bakugo was turned into an alpha when he reached age about 14, 15, and he started to be able to control his turns all the time, and being able to turn at will. So Bakugo turned into a very beefy, chunky type, animal or type werewolf, as it would be like a blonde type werewolf. I'll try to show a picture right now. But basically what happens is Hiroki jumps in and starts to use some pretty much vampire type abilities. As in this world, vampires are kind of OP, but some of them are not. It's two different type of vampires. Elder vampires and normal vampires. The older you get as a vampire, the more powers and abilities you get over the years. So if you're a freshly turned werewolf, a freshly turned vampire, or you're a vampire that was just born by a normal vampire, you're basically just a normal vampire. And over the years, you start to adapt and get more abilities. And if you're an elder vampire and you have a child, that vampire becomes an elder vampire without even really aging for a long time. But that's what it is. In this world, Endeavor is a warlock, but he's half vampire, half warlock, just like Bakugo. So, pretty much, Todoroki, he can use fire and ice magic, but he can only use once a time, and he can use unlimited amount of ice or fire magic because his family on his father's side are such powerful warlocks. It's crazy to think they can even be limited. They're such powerful wizards and warlocks. Wizards and warlocks are kind of the same thing. It's just that warlocks deal with more dark magic than, light magic or hero-esque magic. So, yeah. So Endeavor specializes in fire magic, and he, married uh, elder vampire. Elder vampire is basically, I just said it, a very old vampire with a lot more abilities. So let's say a couple thousand years later, you start to adapt and you basically get a new power as a vampire, like let's say turn into a bat or compulsion or anything like that. But the base abilities a vampire gets when they're first returned, or a normal vampire has if they don't age a long time, is about, super strength, speed, agility, regeneration, compulsion, and also super senses and other things like that. And also the weaknesses from the vampires from Vampire Diaries or Legacies universe. So, pretty much anything like that. So pretty much crosses do actually hurt them in this universe, but only crosses that are in the hands of people that believe them. So let's say a Jewish person was holding a cross against a vampire. It wouldn't work because that person doesn't believe in the cross. So basically that's why the cross is, situated. Oh, not situated, but it depends on the situation or who's holding the cross, if it works on a vampire or not in this universe. So it's kind of like the Marvel vampires type, thing. So what happens after that? And elder vampires, they're basically just very old vampires, like I said before, but they have a lot of powers. So you think about every vampire power that ever was like fictionalized, like turning into a swarm of bats, or turning into mist, or even using magic, or what was it, a levitation or something like that. Not magic, but levitation, other things like that, and shape-shifting, and also straight up just flight without even shape-shifting or levitation, and also other things like, let's say, turning somebody with just a drop of their blood. Like, let's say a vampire has blood on their nails and they scratch somebody, they instantly turn into a vampire without any type of, transition or anything. So basically, the powers are kind of depending on which other, but it's pretty good nonetheless. So yeah, and also stopping time. Stopping time is one power an elder vampire can have, and since Todoroki is half warlock, he can use magic, but not too much, but he can use a lot of magic. He's nowhere near the power level of Merlin or Deku right in the future, but Deku right now, he barely has a grasp on his magic, and he doesn't know how to hold back or go all in with his magic. So as Bakugo, and I'm gonna skip away with the explanation and get back to the story and the fight. As Bakugo and Todoroki start to fight, pretty much Warlock, not the Warlock, but the Hellhound. As the Hellhound starts to fight pretty much Bakugo and tries to get him down to the ground. As Bakugo starts to overpower the Hellhound, as the Hellhound starts to use fire magic to pretty much try to burn off Bakugo from his body. As Bakugo starts to get burned, but he's still grabbing onto the Hellhound. As pretty much, Todoroki jumps in and shoots a huge bolt of ice magic, stopping the pretty much was a Hellhound in its tracks. As Todoroki pretty much tells Bakugo to back off, as the Hellhound doesn't really have much time. As Deku jumps in, realizing that something wrong was happening, as some sort of magic activates in his body. As he has a magic spell engraved in his body that Merlin put in him when he was born, a danger sensing spell, kind of like the Spire Sense. As his head starts to throb as he sees a vision, like a 1-second vision of the Hellhound breaking out and biting Bakugo's neck out from his body, killing him. As the Hellhound breaks out of the ice, as Deku holds out his hand trying to stop it, as a huge bolt of magic, unexplained magic, a white light, blasts out of his hands, shooting a huge hole through the Hellhound, killing it instantly. As Deku looks at his hands, as his hands are glowing white, like the sun, like they're glowing bright, like a flashlight in your eye, like it's like lighting up the whole gym, more than the gym lights are. And you know how bright a gym room or a gym is, so like it is like like gasping, or like literally orange with light, as everybody is slightly blind. Even Bakugo is kind of blinded by the light, as Deku clenches his fist as the light goes away. As Deku looks away, as he looks at the rest of the class, as they are all shocked at how much power Deku has. As Azawa tells Deku to meet him outside, as he tells the rest of the students to clean up and ask the janitor to clean up the Hellhound's remains. As Azawa walks over to pretty much Deku as he's in the hallway and tells Deku, "What are you? How are you doing this? There's no way you're this skilled in that much magic. That was life magic. Magic only very skilled wizards can use. And magic that can take years off your life. So you can't do this. Okay? How are you even able to do this?" As pretty much, well, they do this. And not do this, but Merlin walks in the hallway and tells Azawa to move out the way, as Azawa is, stopped by Merlin, as Merlin takes Deku back home after the school day ends. As I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because like and subscribe, and always, guys, have a blessed day. And go down in the comments of what you want to see next.